And we have the champion, $731,000 for Daniel Dvoress. And what's the feeling, first of all, the hot take for this victory?
It just feels good. You're so in the moment when you're playing that afterwards you feel happy that you won, but there's nothing concrete that I could say.
And what about the experience? The lineup of the final table was like the top. And what about maybe something in the tournament you remember the most, or some hands, anything for the viewers?
The lineup was tough. It might have just been the toughest final table I've been at. And I have a lot of history with a lot of the players. And the hand of the final table for me was definitely getting aces versus Timothy Adams, king, queen suited. I made a 3-bet out of the big blind. He made a big shove, and that got him out of the tournament and me essentially a very large double.
You here for almost 2 weeks. You got 4 cashes before, and maybe you had some experience with all the resort, and merit something about this?
Yeah, personally, I love it here because I'm a very functional sort of person. So when I'm on a poker trip, I want there to be food always available. I want to pick what I can eat. I don't want to have to wait. And here it's perfect. There's a buffet. I can get whatever I want anytime. And also on breaks, just walking out to the pier by the ocean and kind of decompressing for 6 to 8 minutes and resetting a little bit is really good.
And as you are a poker coach and you are both online and live, a very accomplished player for me, I would like to ask a couple of the different questions that I usually don't talk with the winner. And a couple days ago, we played overrated, underrated game, and I remember your answer about the live poker tells.
Overrated.
Underrated.
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 Overrating. Underrated.
Underrated.
Overrated.
Underrated.
And I want to tell, maybe for the viewers who are good online, but they just want to transit to the live game, what's your take of the poker tells?
I think sometimes in Hold'em you get into these very polarized spots where there's a lot of money going into the pot and the person really either has it or doesn't have it, especially by the river. And a lot of the time you could actually get a really good feeling for whether they have it or whether they don't. And I think that's something that people have lost in the more modern era of the game because everyone is just kind of working with solvers and is thinking, oh, I have a bluff catcher, I can maybe call, maybe fold. But a lot of the time you can actually tell what you should do. And I feel like a lot of people are missing that from their game.
I felt like I was in the coaching session now for you. I appreciate it. It was personal one. And another one, I hope we will get it right. Can the poker player be the better poker coach than he's a player? I hope I made it clean.
Yeah, the question makes sense. I would say no, because unless it's for someone of a low level. So if a student is from a lower level, then definitely someone that's not an elite level can just be a very good teacher because they're, for example, very good technically, but they themselves maybe have execution problems. But once you get into a student that is of an elite or approaching an elite level, then you just have to be both.
One more question from that side, as our sponsor of this series is GG Poker. I want you to compare 2 things. Let's say live poker tournaments with, let's say, main event, what you are mostly playing, maybe 5K main event, with the field-wise, with the games in GG Poker, and of course these super high stakes tournaments you are playing now in Super High Rollerball series. What kind of equivalent that would be online in GG Poker to live games?
I think when you're looking at online games, you generally, for something that's a live tournament in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, you want to divide by a factor of 5 to 10. So the skill level and the types of players that you'd encounter at a live 5K would be equivalent for me to like a 1K, like a big field 1K online. And then once you get into things like this 50K or the 250K that's running, those tournaments don't happen very often online. But GG does run a 25K every Sunday, and it's actually quite big, and I think the field is somewhat comparable to this 50K or the 250.
And you mentioned the Super High Bowl that's running now. I know you won that one in Bahamas in 2019, I guess, November. And you know the experience, you got it. But I want to ask you about the pandemics, the gap between your victory in that one and that you are coming here. Maybe something special about that time for you.
Well, the last however many years of the pandemic have been a complete blur for me. 5 or 6 years leading up to the pandemic, I haven't really been spending more than 2 to 3 weeks in one place at a time, except maybe at home in the summer. So it'd just be traveling the circuit, maybe coming home for a week or two, and then going somewhere else. And then when the pandemic started, it was kind of a double-edged sword. It was really nice to have a routine, but at the same time, there was this constant itch to be somewhere. And for obvious reasons, it's an itch that at the time you couldn't scratch. So it feels really nice to get out. But also at the same time, the pandemic, it did get me into a nice routine, and I forgot what it's like to be in one time zone for more than 3 weeks.
Probably for some of the people it's like ridiculous because they all their life they change in that same. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best and take care with the bold one.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate.